Jumbi, cheer up. Get ready. Back to Jumbi. Tonight we're going to run class a little bit differently than we have before. Once again, over the weekend, predominantly when it comes to Krav Maga, but even with the Tang Soo Do, I keep getting the question, can you practice on your own? Sorry, just saw half my head was missing. Can you practice on your own? Yes, yes you can. Forms. That's why we have them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you practice your forms, they're perfect, boom, you're ready for any real world scenario. I'm not telling you that at all. Of course you need a warm body to practice against. But a lot of the failing, in my opinion, of modern day martial arts is we immediately want to ring fight. We immediately want to get in the ring, we want to start sparring, we want to start fighting. The problem with that is you don't know how to punch, you don't know how to kick, you don't know how to move, so you start building all of these bad habits, and then you have to try to break them down the line. Now, I'm not saying that sparring doesn't serve a purpose. It 100% does. It 100% does, but more time than sparring needs to be put into forms. Forms. So that's what we're going to be working on today is actual forms application. But here's what I mean by I want tonight's class to run a little bit differently. For all my students, please, in the comments, as we're doing class, all we're going to be doing is running through the forms. That's it. We'll probably do the first 5-6 forms. That's pretty much it. But what I want you to do is if you have a specific question, what are we doing here? What is this application? Please ask it in the chat. That's what I want to detail today is forms applications. Now, what do I mean by forms applications? As you come up through the ranks, you look at forms, and a block is a block, a punch is a punch. Then as your understanding of the martial arts and the way the human body moves, you start realizing a block is not always a block and a punch is not always a punch. And then hopefully when you make it even to a higher level, a block is a block, a punch is a punch. Now most of that went over most of y'all's heads, but forms are as complicated or as easy as you want to make them. Low block punch, Kichi-Young-Yobu, low block punch. It could be as simple as that. Somebody's coming up from the side, throwing a low kick, you block and you step in for the punch. But it also could be a joint lock. It also could be a takedown. So if on any of your forms you have any specific questions, what are we doing here? In the chat, please don't hesitate to ask. And without an uke, I will do my best to demonstrate it and explain it to you. But tonight I want it to be more Q&A than anything else. I want those questions about your forms. Forms, once again, the rule of 3. 1 month, learn the form. Which direction am I moving? What techniques am I doing? Second month is understanding the form. What am I accomplishing? A lot of my forms, I train them by actually setting up the bobs, by setting up the dummies, and okay, if the opponent's here, what could I be doing? If the opponent's here, what could I be doing? Most of the applications that I were taught were strictly block punch. But that's not the way I think, that's not the way I fight. So we're going to start with Kichi-Young-Yobu, first basic form. But like I said, if you have a question about a specific form, a specific application, please do not hesitate to ask. We're going to take the forms very slow so that anybody can follow along, starting at Kichi-Young-Yobu and working our way up. Jumbi, Kichi-Young-Yobu, first basic form. Moving to the left, low block, stepping forward, middle punch. To the rear, low block, stepping forward, middle punch. To the left, low block, stepping forward, middle punch, ice, middle punch, Kia. Turning over your left shoulder, 270 degrees, all the way around, low block, punch, 180 over your right, low block, stepping forward, middle punch, 90 to the left, low block, stepping forward, middle punch, stepping forward, middle punch, stepping forward, middle punch, key up. 270 degrees over your left shoulder, all the way around, low block. Stepping forward, middle punch, 180 over your right, low block, stepping forward, middle punch. Back to June B. Now, as we're running through these forms, I know it's hard because I keep stepping out of frame, but I am going to be calling them. But as you're practicing these forms, if this is a form that you already know, that's great. Take this time, since we're doing it nice and slow, and focus on those smaller details. Some of those details, where my eyes looking. Now you notice my eyes move. My eyes, because I have my back door open because it's hot today. And I can't help but always keep an eye on that front door. So my eyes are always everywhere. But are your eyes on your opponent? What about your blocking and your feet? Are your movements, boom, striking at the same time? Once again, working on that, building that kinetic linking. Making sure everything moves together. If you block and then pop your hips, it's pointless. If you pop your hips and then block, once again, pointless. You need to make sure that everything moves in time with each other. Good. Kicho Young Ibu. Second basic form, Kicho Young Ibu. Going to the left, low block. Stepping forward, high punch. 180 over your right shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, high punch. 90 to the left, low block. Stepping forward, middle punch. Stepping forward, high block, excuse me. Stepping forward, high block, ice. 270 degrees over your left shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, high punch. 180 over the right shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, high punch. 90 over the left shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, high block. Stepping forward, high block. Stepping forward, high block, ice. 270 over the left shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, high punch. 180 over the right shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, high punch. Back to Junbi. Keep in mind that as you're doing these forms, make sure you have a correct target. What do I mean by a correct target? This is a high punch. You're punching somebody in the nose, punching somebody in the forehead, but overall the person that you're fighting is your size. So there's no need to be throwing punches way up here. Because I'm sorry, if I'm fighting, I don't know, about to show my, the Big Show, and they're 7 feet tall, I'm not going to be punching them in the head. And so I'm going to be punching them in the groin. But I'm not going to be aiming up here, so there's no point for you to train that way. There is no power here. This is where the power is. Focus on your blocks. I saw a lot of these big, round movements. The problem is one is not teaching you correct body mechanics. Okay, this is, I like the Japanese name for the high block better because they call it a rising block. After all, that's what it is. You're rising up, not one coming around or these big sweeping movements. Keep in mind the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So you want to work on that A to B, that straight line movement. Once again, if you have any questions over any of these applications so far, please message in. Like let's take for instance the high block. So low block, pretty self-explanatory what we did there. On the low block here. But why 3 high blocks in a row? Why? A lot of times I got the answer coming up through the ranks as just in case. You're just going through the motions. I don't buy that. I don't buy that we spend thousands upon thousands of hours training for just going through the motions, especially when it comes from forms. You know, keep in mind, forms were created by soldiers coming back from war. This is what they used to keep themselves safe. They're not going to do something in combat just because, just in case. Everything we do has a purpose. Everything we do has a reason. I don't believe in preparatory movements, and I don't believe in just in case blocks. I.e. Padua Young Sa Chang, 4th 8 sided form. Here. You know, you're blocking here or you're blocking here just in case. I don't believe in just in case blocks. Everything we do has a purpose. So, one of those is a block, yes. But it's not the one that you think. It's not the one that you think. Okay, Kichu Young Sambu. Kichu Young Sambu, 3rd basic form. Jumbi. Moving to the left in a back stance, in-out block. Make sure your hand is in front of your face. Stepping forward, middle punch. 180 over the right shoulder. And out in a back stance. Stepping forward, middle punch. Moving to the front, low block. Stepping forward, horse stance, middle punch. Horse stance, middle punch. Horse stance, middle punch, kill. Ice. All the way around, 270 over the left shoulder. And out in the back stance. Stepping forward, middle punch. 180 over the right shoulder. In out the back stance. Stepping forward, middle punch. Moving to the rear, low block. Stepping forward. Horse stance, middle punch. Horse stance, middle punch. Horse stance, middle punch, kill. 270 over the left shoulder. In out. Stepping forward, middle punch. In out. Stepping forward, middle punch. Back to Jumbi. Okay. Middle punch. Middle punch, I have a problem in a lot of everybody's forms. This is my opponent. He is standing in front of me, I'm on his center line. And the way I see a lot of punches and forms is straight out from that shoulder. The problem with that is this center line is where everything is that I want to hit. Think about it, you got eyes, nose, mouth, I never advocate hitting to. Throat, diaphragm, solar plexus. Just off this center line, you have liver and pancreas. You have the, I don't know what it's called, the hip bone, where it comes together. You have the groin. The center line has everything. So even if I am off his center line, my center line and his is still lined up, that's where I'm punching. So the punch is not necessarily going to be here, the punch is going to be there. And that's what you need to get in the habit of doing, is punching here, not straight out from your shoulders. Once again, it's all about technique. Punching down the center line may not seem that important, but I want, everybody can do this technique. I want you to put your arms straight out from your shoulder and push on the wall. And you can feel your shoulder give. But when you punch and place your arm in that center line movement, you got the weight of your body all the way behind you. You're not moving anywhere. We got a question. Okay, practical application for the horse stance middle punch. This is actually probably one of my favorite applications. Okay, hopefully this line shows up. You can see the cross on the tape. Now, when I step forward, how many feet do you move at a time? 1. You move 1 foot at a time. My opponent is in front of me. So if my body is straddling this line, when I step forward in that horse stance, boom, I am now slightly off that center line. So this is twofold application, whichever way you want to take it. I'm not saying my answer is the right one. I'm just saying my answer is the right one for me. So, two things are happening. One, I'm stepping off his center line. Your opponent is not going to be able to change his fist halfway through the punch. What do I mean by that? Is if he is aiming here, that's where his punch is going to go. What's the best way to block a punch? Don't be there. So, if he is aiming here, and I'm stepping off of that center line, he missed, I still got to hit it. That's one application. My favorite application. Once again, I love takedowns. Takedowns are what I love. And if you noticed on that punch that I just did, when I step forward, my foot is now in front of him, but my punch driving through him is behind him. That way, when I move around that hand, that now becomes a takedown. Think of it as a scissor motion. You know, I got my foot in front and my hand behind, so that as I'm moving, my foot is driving his lower half that way, my arm is driving his upper half the other way. So like I said, it becomes a scissor takedown. Now, why do we practice it both ways? Because what happens if I step forward, boom, and punch this way instead? Now my leg is behind him. Now my hand is in front of him. So when I move and I drive through him, I'm taking him down the other way. I hope that answered your question. Believe it or not, takedowns are hard to explain and demonstrate when you don't have an uke. But hopefully things pretty soon start getting back to normal. So good question. The problem that I have with Kichiyong Sambo, the form that we just did, horse stance middle punch. Horse stance is a great technique. It's a great technique to fight out of. As a matter of fact, your first black belt forms that you do are the Nahachi forms. Those forms are done entirely in a horse stance. The entirety of the form is just horse stance, side-to-side movement. And horse stance is such a great technique because, yeah, you may not have a whole lot of stability going back that way, but side to side, you're not being moved. So if your opponent is standing in front of you, you're not budging backwards. There are beautiful stances that don't get worked on enough. So how do you focus on working on them in this form? The bounce. Work on that bounce and negating it. What do I mean by the bounce? A lot of times when people do this form and they're moving forward, they have a tendency to come up and down. Up and down. One of my biggest pet peeves. I hate that. Forms are on one plane, unless specifically told to change. There are a few forms where we do change elevation, but they're not that many. Mainly because it's all about balance. A fight is chaos. And just like in the scientific method, you want to eliminate as many variables as you can. What's one of the major variables that we can control? Our height. So when you are practicing this form, you want to practice maintaining that level plane as you're moving forward. And like I said, the takedown is a beautiful thing, or stepping off the center line, whichever one speaks to you. Takedown will always be my favorite one. Okay, moving on to Padway on Il-Cheng. Padway on Il-Cheng, first eight-sided form. Junbi. Moving to the left, low block. Stepping forward, in, out, in the front stance. 180 over the right shoulder. Low block. Stepping forward, in, out. 90 over the left shoulder, low block. Stepping forward, in, out. In the back stance. Stepping forward, in, out in the back stance. Stepping forward, middle punch. Ice, front stance. 270 degrees over your left shoulder. Middle chop, back stance. Stepping forward, in, out, in a back stance. 180 over the right shoulder. Middle chop, stepping forward, in, out, in a back stance. 90 over the left shoulder, low block. Stepping forward. Neck chop, middle punch kill. 270 over the left shoulder. Low block, stepping forward, in, out. 180 over the right shoulder. Low block, stepping forward, in, out. Back to Jumbi. So, that form. A couple of big problems that you need to focus on. In-out blocks. In-out blocks. Because that's the way a lot of people treat them. In-out blocks. Boom. You're coming around. Well, if you notice, these Wing Chun dummies, their arms are really close together. Because in a fight, they're not, for the most part, they're not going to have their hands way out here punching from out there. They're going to be here. They're going to be nice and tight. So if I'm coming around with these big, large blocks, chances are there's going to be appendage in the way. Now, that's if, remember what I told you earlier, a block is not always a block, a punch is not always a punch. That's if you don't apply striking to this. See, I believe, why can't we block and strike at the same time? See, the beautiful thing about this in-out block is as long as that hand is in front of your face, that striking arm will not hit you. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to the rules. Roundhouse punch, ridge hand, properly thrown roundhouse kick is great for negating blocks. But we don't train for what ifs, we train for constants. So if, let's take Pago Young chain, I low block. And then, I'll demonstrate on Bob, probably easier to see. I low block. Then when I'm stepping in, it is a back fist to the head. Now, don't get me wrong, if he's throwing a punch here, it's still a block. But why not kill two birds with one stone? That's one of the reasons why I love Krav. There's no defense without an offense. We are defense. Inherently, that's what martial arts is. Defense. If you think about it, every one of our forms begins with, sorry, I take that back. I have a new application for one of our forms. But 99% of our forms begin with a block. So inherently we're defensive. But no defense without an offense. Guys, we're coming up on the end of the class. Make sure you have your question of the night ready. Let's move on to Pago Young I Ching. Pago Young I Ching, second 8-sided form. Second 8-sided form. So you're in Jumbi, 90 degrees to the left, high block. Front snap kick, middle punch. 180 over the right shoulder, high block. Front snap kick, middle punch. Moving to the front, low chop, middle chop, high block, ice, middle punch. 270 degrees over the left shoulder, high block. Front snap kick, middle punch. 180 over the right shoulder. Front snap kick, middle punch. 90 over the left shoulder, low chop, closed fist. Stepping forward, middle chop, closed fist. Stepping forward, out into the back stance. Stepping forward, middle punch, ice. 270 over your left shoulder. High block, front snap kick, middle punch, 180 over your right shoulder. Front snap kick, middle punch. Back to Jumbi. Now, notice that my kicks in my opinion, are different than a lot of people. Front snap kicks look great way up here. They really do. But I don't train for pretty, I train for functional. So if you notice, my kicks, my front snap kicks are going out to the solar plexus. Yeah, if I need to change height, throat will work too. But up, not a very valid technique. Make sure everything works. When you're in your close fist, too many times people have the tendency of locking that lead elbow. We covered this a couple classes ago. Never lock that elbow. You'll notice here that even here, I have a slight bend in that elbow. I'm never here. It's always here. When you're moving forward, it's here. Yes, it's closed fist, but it's the same. It's the same. So I'll give everybody a minute. Do we have a question of the night? No. Okay. Guys, keep in mind, if you haven't received your packet yet of Next Techniques, please get with me. Let me know. Other than that, please like if you liked, subscribe if you loved it, tell your friends about it, because it looks like it's going to be a few more weeks till we can get back to business as normal-ish. But guys, any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section. Other than that, y'all have a great evening.